All right, now that we have our infrastructure in front of us, it's time to put in the IP addresses. No IPs, no connectivity. So let's start with PC1. Let's go ahead and put the IP address for that one. We go to the desktop tab under IP configuration, 192.168.1.1. So 192.168.1.1, tab, and then 192.168.1.254. This is how I like to set it up, using the first available IP address for the end devices, and then the last available IP address for the gateway, which will eventually end up being the F00. So let's continue to PC number 2. Do the same thing, desktop tab. Let me move the window up here so we can see good. IP configuration, 192.168.2.1, tab, 192.168.2.254. Okay, last one, which is the actual server, and desktop tab, 192.168.3.1, tab, 192.168.3.254. Let me just add why I'm just tabbing through, because we're using the default subnet mask for a Class C. If this would have been a subnetted Class C, obviously I would have adjusted the mask accordingly. But since we're not, we're using a default, that's why I was able to tab. I'm going to close. And I'm going to move the window slightly to the left here. All right, so we're going to go ahead and go to our first router. And let's make our window here so we can actually see what we're doing. All right, we're going to type enable and global configuration. And let's name the router R1. And then we're going to go into the interface, which is the fast Ethernet 00 interface, F0/0. And then we put the IP address. IP address 192.168.1.254. Last available, 255.255.255.0. Subnet mask. And then the command no shut turns on the interface. So, and you'll get a feedback from the router letting you know, hey, this just came up. So that's great. We get a green light and everything. Now we're going to go to the S000, which is your serial interface. Int S0/0/0, enter. And then we put the IP address 10.1.1.5. That's the first available. And then the mask, 255.255.255.252, because we're using a CIDR 30. Now, we have a clock on that, so we need to put the clock rate for synchronization purposes. And we'll put in the maximum, which is 4 million. 123, that's 4 million. And then we do a no shut. And then do WR, a little shortcut there to copy everything. So we're done with router 1. Now, you may be saying to yourselves, why is this still red? Why didn't it turn green? Because we have to configure this one in order for that to turn green. So let's move it a little bit more here to one side, so our window can fit nicely in here. We can see what we're doing. And no, we don't want to run a wizard. So we're going to enable config T, and then we're going to go into that interface, which is int S0/0/1, enter, IP address, the second available IP address, 10.1.1.6, 255.255.255.252, enter. And this is the DTE portion of the cable, so there is no need to put a clock rate, so all we do is do a no shut. And then it comes up. Great. Now we're going to go to the fast Ethernet 00, int F0/0. And when this happens, I always like to do an up arrow to make sure that I'm in the right interface, and hit enter one more time. And then do IP address, and this should be the 2 network, 192.168.2.254, 255.255.255.0. And then we do a no shut to turn on the interface. Hit enter a couple times there. Now we have the other serial, which has the clock as well. So we go int S0/0/0, enter. IP address 10.1.1.9. Why 9? Because this is the 10.1.1.8 network. This is the first available. 255.255.255.252. We need that clock rate. Clock rate, can't forget. 4 million, 123, 123. No shut. And then do WR. And then we'll do the last router. And I'm going to move it again a little bit here. Get that out of there so I can have a nice clean window. We can see exactly what's going on. Let's open it up. All right. Hit enter. And now we're doing the S001. So enable, config T, host name R3, enter, interface S0/0/1, enter, IP address 10.1.1.10, second available, 255.255.255.252. Enter. No need for clock rate on this one. No shut. There are green lights. And now enter a couple times. Interface F00, which is towards our LAN. And we're going to put in the IP address of 192.168.3.254. We're the gateway. 255.255.255.0. Enter. And then we do a no shut to turn that on. Do WR to copy everything. Now, as you can see, we have green lights all the way across, but are we routing across? We put a bunch of IP addresses on our PCs and our routers. Let's take a look at PC1. And then we're going to go to PC1, and we're going to see if we can ping, oops, wrong one here, command prompt. And we're going to ping our gateway, which would be 192.168.1.254. And we get replies. Beautiful. That's what we want to see. But can we get to 192.168.2.1, which is our neighboring computer? And it says destination host unreachable. You only get a reply from our gateway. So what is it that we need to do now? We need to start creating routing. Default routing will be one of the first things that we would talk about.